Radiothon
on 194.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Here we go. It is the Cares For Kids Radiothon, 194, the number one hit music station, 701-478-KIDS, 5437. You can also donate online at 194.com. So what makes the Radiothon so special is the parents and families that come in and share their experience with Sanford Children's Hospital and Brianna and husband Antahn from Fargo. This is how you're written on here. Oh. You get second billing. How does that make you feel?
We'll survive.
Just and husband. What if it just said and husband with no name? Be like, sorry, just you're her husband.
I'm just here.
Oof, I've been there. I have been an extra piece of meat at home too. I really have been. Well, you guys right now have quite the experience going on with your 2-year-old son Silas. Can you tell us what brought you to Sanford Children's?
So Silas was 1.5 years when this happened, and he was just learning how to walk, and he was walking pretty good. But we noticed that he was kind of just limping, and we thought maybe he just hurt himself. And then one day daycare called, and he wasn't walking at all. And so we ended up taking him to the walk-in clinic, and I just figured that maybe, they'd find it, they'd just say, oh, yes, it's just, he fell. Mm-hmm. Well, I ended up throwing an animal cracker across the room to show them that he wasn't walking at all, because I knew he'd want the animal cracker, and he fell straight to his face. And so at that point, the nurse was obviously very worried, and we ended up going straight to the x-ray room and did an x-ray. And I thought that was going to be the hardest part of this journey, and just holding him down on the x-ray table, and it was actually the easiest part of the journey. They found liquid in his kneecap, and at that point they said, we can't help you any further here, and we've already called Sanford Children's, and we need to rush you over to the hospital. It's all set up for you. Just go to the 9th floor. We said, can we drop off our other 2 kids? And because this was at night now at this point, and they're like, no, you need to get there right now. They made it just very serious. And so we rushed right there and went to the 9th floor, and our room was all ready for us, and it was a whirlwind. We were there, and then the next morning he had to get put under just so that he can get an MRI done on his knee, and it was really hard to give away our baby to a complete stranger, knowing that he was gonna be put to sleep.
Yeah, he ended up being under for like 2.5 hours because the fluid they had to extract it then after so they could test it for bacteria and whatever, and really find out what was going on, because a toddler's leg is not very big. But his knee was like the size of a baseball, and you just knew something was wrong at that point after being there all night, and getting him down there was the best thing that could have happened, so we can get those answers. So yeah, they did the fluid testing, and there was no harmful bacteria. It was something else that had caused the swelling, and a different kind of I think they called it a viral infection, more or less, that had went into that joint. So it's just really a whirlwind of emotions, from Friday night into Saturday, and very thankful for the people there. I don't think there was any real moment in time that we weren't, within an earshot of a nurse or a doctor or somebody there to help and answer a question that we might have had.
Now, you have been really active. You've been raising money for Sanford Children's, for the Children's Miracle Network at Sanford Children's. What is it like being then kind of on the opposite side?
It was unreal. I remember touring that floor just by doing the donations, and I never in my life would have thought that we as a family would utilize it. So there's this lion wagon, and Silas obviously had IVs in him, and so he had the IV tower. And so he did not want to be hooked up to anything. And so we walked the floor in this wagon where he got to sit in the wagon, and then the IV attached to the wagon like a little trailer. And I'm thinking, I wonder if this is something that was bought by the funds that we raised. And we walked those floors for 5 hours a day. I mean, that's what got him to not cry. And I was so thankful for this wagon more than anyone could ever imagine because of that. And then on Friday night, like Antahn was saying, or the whole family was there. We have 3 kids. And so we had, dinner in our hospital room. And then we went to Cully's cabin. And again, I couldn't believe that we were using Cully's cabin as a patient here in this hospital when, 3 years earlier, we just toured it. So it was unreal, but very thankful.
The things there just in that moment in time when you're probably at your most vulnerable and everything else is going on, having the toys and stuff for the kids there, it allowed us to be a family while still in the hospital. And, that's invaluable because at that moment in time, nobody knows what's going on and we're just looking for answers. But that was kind of a little piece of home that we could have while we were there. So that made a world of difference, at least for our older kids too, throughout the process.
Well, and having been in a situation where you're sitting somewhere else to say, well, we can't help anymore, we got to send you to Sanford Children's. Describe what this would have been like if this wasn't in town and it was, sorry, we're going to have to refer you to Mayo or wherever. I mean, what would your life look like then?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It was the end of the day. We were in the clinic at 5. At 5:30, 6 o'clock, we had, the notification or them telling us to go to Sanford Children's. And it's at that point, like, you're 3 hours away from driving anywhere, like to Minneapolis or doing anything else that you might have to do. So being able to be here local and just really down the street, it takes a lot of stress off your plate in that moment in time.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a situation where we're trying to raise a whole lot of money for this hospital that helped out Silas so much, helped out your whole family. For anyone that's listening and they're hearing your story, this is the story they're going to hear today. The only plea they're going to hear is whatever comes out of your mouth, no pressure. Why should they pick up the phone and become part of this hospital?
The funds that get donated are truly for the families and the patients outside of the medical equipment, possibly, like this wagon I was expressing. If we didn't have this wagon, I'm not quite sure what we would have done. We would have had a crying 18-month-old for 15 hours. It just makes such a big difference on just, like Antahn was saying, having that home feeling. We were only in the hospital for 2 nights, 3 days. There's some families that are in there for months, and having that home feeling is really important. So please, just anything you can do. You might have last year bought that wagon for us, even for $1, and we appreciate it.